Welcome to the Candy Shop Show of the Diamond Network. Here it is, April 13th, 2016, and we all know that 13 is really a lucky number, and you're lucky to be in the right place here with Candy Carol hosting the Candy Shop Show, and we have got Carla Bass that will be our special guest speaker this evening. So let's just dig in and get ready. It's great to have the folks online here and later on YouTube. So this is the big month of April 2016. Lots of changes, and as things are going topsy-turvy in all directions, physical, emotional, mental, galactic, we sure need to set great intentions and have all of our guides and guardian angels. I'd like to call them in this evening, and I'd like to welcome the guides to talk to the guides of the other folks that are here on our call this evening, and have more even more unity and optimism and great excitement and lessons learning easily and smoothly. These are my intentions I'm setting for tonight, and would like my audience to just relax as I say the law of one. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And just visualize our solar system and all within it and all the levels, all the dimensions as one. For we are all one. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. And when one is helped and loved and healed, all are helped and loved and healed. And in the name of I Am, and my name is I Am, I ask for the highest good of all concerned relating to the issues that we will be discussing tonight and the assistance to the galactics to take the power grid from the cabal to the good guys and protect and make this a smooth transition as this full disclosure goes deeper and deeper. And as we ask for the highest good of all concerned in this dimension and all timelines, we know that it is done and we give thanks. So be it, and so it is. Whew, wow. Carla, are you with us? Say, you were speaking to us earlier. Maybe you need to do a star 6.
I'll get star 6. Here we go.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I wanted to do that time check there. We'll have your presentation about the UFO conference after the Candy Jar Treat, and remind my audience the city that you went to.
The conference that I went to, the UFO conference that I went to, was in Eureka Springs, and it's one of the largest in the United States.
Great, yes.
And
that was one of the largest UFO conferences in the world. Okay. Well, opening the candy jar treats, let me say that, we talk about politics and economics and current events and some spiritual treats. And, it's a crazy time as we're leading up to April 19th, the date that the satanic rituals take place with the 1,000 temples of Baal or Satan that are being erected and around the planet. And we can just visualize, though, and set the intentions that we're not going to have another Oklahoma bombing like that April 19th in 1995, or a Waco, Texas, or another catastrophe like they did in Egypt on April 19th, and on all the April 19th. This coming Tuesday, we're all going to set our intentions for a smooth transition through this time, and there needs to be no more child sacrifices like those children were sacrificed in the Waco and in the nursery preschool at Oklahoma City. Well, I was on the conference call a lot in 95 and that week, and we talked to a lot of survivors from Oklahoma. But, it's crazy right now with this, the huge sinkhole that in Iowa that swallowed up a house in Des Moines, and the epic hail storms in Texas, the $2 billion in damages in the last 4 weeks with softball-sized hail that smashed windows and damaged cars, and all of the crazy things that are happening everywhere, with all the plane crashes. And, of course, there's 12 people that died in Australia yesterday in their plane, and the train derailed in Scott, and the 18 that died in the construction train collapse in China. And it goes on, and all the horrible things revealed in the Panama Papers, and the Big Dipper and things in the sky so out of place. Well, these are certainly interesting times that we live in, and Benjamin Fulford shares a lot of this, and we want to really focus on him quite a bit in the show tonight, because it is certainly very exciting. A lot of YouTube videos were talking about this secret meeting in the White House, but Benjamin tells us the rest of the story. So let's see what he has to say. And I hope that everybody will listen. Again, I've listened to it 5 times. It's April 12th, 2016 on YouTube.
Information. Benjamin Fulford, April 12th, 2016. Federal Reserve Board and U.S. dollar will be hit by financial Armageddon if Asian gold offer refused. The Asian Dragon family has offered the owners of the Federal Reserve Board staggering quantities of gold at a 13% discount from the market price. The idea is for 10% of this money to be spent on a massive campaign to end poverty, stop environmental destruction, and send humanity on a path for exponential expansion into the universe. The ball is now in the court of the U.S. regime in Washington, D.C. That is why the U.S. President and Vice President are having an emergency meeting on April 11th with Federal Reserve Board Chairperson Janet Yellen. A member of the Dragon family will also be at that meeting, CIA sources in Asia say. If the Feds refuse the Asians, the BRICS nations and the Europeans will announce a new international gold-backed currency that can be exchanged for U.S. dollars during a 3-month period. After that period, the U.S. dollar will no longer be accepted by at least 188 countries, leaving the Washington regime isolated and bankrupt. In this event, to avoid war, the U.S. military operations outside of the United States will continue to be financed using the new currency. The new regime that will inevitably replace the bankrupt Feds in the U.S. will be free to issue their own currency with unlimited spending power inside the U.S. In addition to the financial sanctions against the Feds, the world's martial arts societies will be mobilized to finish off the genocidal faction of the Hazarian Mafia. Kodoin Daikaku, the ostensible head of many of the world's martial arts factions, is being relieved of his duties and will be replaced by Masaaki Hatsumai, head of the Bujin Kendocho. The reason for this is that Daikaku, whose real name is Ryasuke Matsu, has refused to mobilize the martial arts societies under his supposed leadership despite being presented with ample proof that the Hazarian Mafia has been actively trying to murder more than 90% of the world's population. In other words, multiple blows have been struck against the human race and, despite a legitimate need for self-defense, he does nothing. The evidence he ignores includes multiple attempts to start World War III, the spreading of bioweapons like Ebola, HIV, and SARS, attempts to cause mass starvation by paying farmers to grow fuel, not food, and much more. Not only that, having failed in these attempts to kill the billions the Satanists announced they would kill, it appears they are getting ready for some massive sacrificial event. At least 1,000 temples to Baal are being built around the world. In ancient times, children were traditionally burned and sacrificed to Baal, also known as Molech and later Set and finally now Satan. The fact remains the regime of Barack Obama in the United States has not arrested any of the perpetrators or planners of these atrocities. This means that all members of the military, the police, the agencies and martial arts societies must go up the chain of command and insist action be taken before more deaths occur. Fortunately, there is evidence that at least some serious action is being taken. For one thing, the entire Swiss branch of the Rothschild family is wanted by the police, according to Pentagon sources.
Okay. It goes on for another 8 minutes, his report, and I encourage folks to listen to that. Carla, were you able to hear that well?
Yes, I did, Candy. And I had a question, which I'll kind of try to look for later about that. Is it mentioned that that for 3 months period there would be an exchange of the dollar for the gold back? I was wondering if that was just our government to be able to do that, if we as individuals could, during that 3 months, trade our money in for the gold back. It's just a question I have. I wasn't sure.
Well, I believe it is for us individuals and the government. Yes.
Anybody who wanted to, yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting that one of the Asians were at the secret meeting with Obama and Janet. And now this is the proposal that they have been trying to hammer out. And he just hinted at what they were wanting to propose. And apparently now they have got the details that he's revealed, that at least the Asians and the Russians and those in the negotiations in the preliminary to set up this agency to oversee a global gold-backed currency. Now, I hope that Obama and Janet certainly will accept this offer because, I mean, it's going to be awful. I mean, we manufacture nothing. We grow hardly anything. If suddenly, 105 countries will not trade with us if we are not trading with the gold-backed currency, that's, disastrous for us. So, but we set our intentions that the cabal and the Fed, wake up and understand that now is the time they need to pass the power over. It was very interesting to me, so we're supposed to get used to gold and valuing gold. There's been so much, gold's not that big of a deal, or we don't need a gold-backed currency. And so it was just a little thing, but I think a symbol. This morning, there was a commercial for perfume, and it showed a model dressed in gold with gold slippers, and she was in like the picture of the old U.S. Congressional Dome, and she was talking about the past was fine, but we need to move through to the future, and we need to. We need to go into the golden future. And then she burst through the dome, and there's a paradise, modern city, and everything is bathed in golden light. And so I thought that was just, I think we're going to hear more positive things about gold. And it was healthier. The Asians all wore gold because of the vibrations of the gold, to have the gold jewelry and the gold necklaces. And as Christopher Jacobs has told us, it's important to sometimes wear bracelets and set them as magical wards as protection so that negativity can't enter our aura. And, of course, the Asians understood this, and they wore and the Egyptians, they wore their gold bracelets. And so maybe that will be in our future too. And just like, people can look forward to being healthier, because hopefully not only will it be a gold-backed currency, but we will be walking around with gold coins in our pockets when it's convenient, or something like that, and more jewelry. I mean, we're talking 20 tons of gold being distributed. I think it's wonderful that Benjamin Fulford is working on these things and setting the intentions, and that he's developing the trust of people so that he can have great sources for his information. Did you have another question, Carla, or anybody?
No, and I feel the same way you do. I feel the same way you do. We need to hold our intention for this to go through smoothly, and we won't need to worry about trading our money in for gold back. It'll all be taken care of.
Right, and I hope people will have the courage to understand that it is real. When it happens.
Yeah.
That it's not a trick. So yeah, it's exciting, and so I'm just my friends and I, we're just singing as we're on the spiritual level. Our dreams are more vivid. Telepathy is increasing. The telepathy with the animals and humans, and it's exciting as we're going into 5D deeper and deeper. But so I encourage folks to use your sage, meditate, do your yoga, plant your gardens with great intention, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful spring and summer. So I'm putting the lid back on the candy jar and welcoming Carla to talk about, your experiences at the UFO conference in Eureka Springs.
Okay. First of all, I'll probably talk about what it's like, kind of get a picture of what it's like in case no one's been to a UFO conference. They call speakers to come and speak every year from anywhere in the world. We've had speakers from Mexico and from England and just different places. And the speakers have at least 20 years, most of them or more, in either personal contact with star beings or they're just researchers or, just anything to do with...
but it's always nice to have a review from you.
March 7th, 2016.
People waking up and
the Ascension Plan.
Oh.
Question. We've been told of global collateral accounts positioned to move.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. And so usually around 800 people show up. There have been more. One year it only holds so many, and we had to the conference people had to turn people away. So they've tried to set up an overflow area to take as many as they can, like in other rooms where they can watch it on a TV screen, just to make it accessible. And usually, because this one's so large, you most likely have to have reservations and everything. They do it every April. By January, your hotel, your reservations and everything, because there's limited seating. And that's on the upper floor. When you go down to the lower floor, there's anywhere right now between 40 and 45 vendors. And there's just all kinds of people who have precious stones or crystals, people who do Reiki, people who do card reading. Just about anything you can imagine is down in the lower floor. And in between classes, you can go get a reading from tarot or psychic reading. There's people who have pyramid-shaped things for energy and just many, many things. Everyone just different than the other. And so
Carla, let me interrupt and say that, you're bringing back some great memories. I helped sound the UFO conference. It's only 2.5 hours from my house with Lou Ferris in the late 1980s. And he didn't have anybody on the media team, so I wrote the first press release to the nearest large newspaper, the Joplin Globe, and so we were mentioned, and then the following year they sent out a reporter, and they didn't report it every year, but they did again this year, so that was really great, and I had my own. I was one of the vendors back in those days, but this is great, and they had the different types of. There's several different ways of looking at the UFO phenomena, and so they had all different types. But yes, go ahead more with the one in 2016.
Well, because of people like you and Lou Ferris, this was the 29th year. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Anyway, I thought I'd go over a couple of the speakers. You could see what kind of people speak there. And I don't know if anyone's heard of John Burroughs. His speech his talk was on confirmation trumps disclosure. Because his idea is if we collaborate and everything checks out, then we really don't need the government to disclose anything. And one reason he was chosen to speak is because he was assigned as a security police law enforcement at RAF Bentwaters in England as a security police. And on December 26, 1980, while working for the law enforcement there, he had a life-changing event where he conducted an investigation on a phenomena which has left the rest of the world in awe of the most documented and witnessed sighting by the United States military in known history. Anyway, I don't know if anyone has heard of the vent water incident, but it's very interesting if you want to go online and just put the vent water incident in England in the
Absolutely.
1980s.
You know, I just did this, and I see there's you know, John Burroughs is living proof that UFOs are real, and they're talking about the Russians confirming things, and of course it was 1974 when I had my first huge UFO sighting, and so I've been at this a very long time, and it was 1972 when I was living in England and met with the UFO people there at that time. And so, boy, it's a long time waiting for disclosure. But so you were really impressed with John's presentation.
Oh yeah, they're all wonderful. Everyone's professional, and you know, very clear, and you know, they all do a wonderful job. You're really glad you were there. Now, there's another thing too: is people who can't make it, they do film this, and within 2 months, you can get the whole conference. Around 2 to 3 months, you can buy the whole conference. So if you're one that really doesn't have time, or you live in a different area and you don't want to, you know, fly in, and can get quite costly, you don't really have to be there. It's just nice to be there and meet some of the people you see every year, but it's really not necessary to go because you can get all the updated information on the DVDs. And if you wait a little bit longer, a year or two, then they'll all be on YouTube. So,
well, and of course it's easy for the motels to get sales so quick because Eureka Springs is such a small community.
Yeah.
You know, it was built around their hot springs healing things in the 1890s, and the people from the east would come in for their treatments, and it's a cute hippie kind of a tourist attraction in the Midwest throughout the year. But it's great that people are finding their way there. So there's more than just the conference to enjoy when you're at Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Oh yeah, and one of the largest Christ statues is there. There are many, you know, some throughout the world, but it's very large. They also have the Passion Play, but it's not operating. Well, we're there usually in April. It starts operating. The place, it's an outdoor play, Passion Play, but it's not active in April, so we're always kind of disappointed. While we're there, we can't go see it. Anyway, another speaker there was Barbara Lamb, and many of you may have read some of her work, and her topic was extraterrestrial ambassadors on Earth. And she's a psychotherapist and a regression therapist, and she's worked with many, many beings that she's found are hybrids. And she shared, you know, some of the cases. She also does a work and reveals information about the crop circles. So, again, that was very fascinating. And let's see, give you another example. Nick Pope was there from England. He used to be in charge of the Ministry of Defense and for about 21 years. And in his last few years, he was made Minister of Defense UFO project, where they began releasing information, partly on his pressuring them to do so. They said, okay, if you want to do that, then you take charge of it. So he said they released a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff they didn't. But at least they gave it a good go, and it was a beginning. And I think that was, I'm not sure how many years ago, it was more than 5 years ago, that England opened up their files. And he said there's some cases that they have not turned over. They've said they've lost them or something. But he says they'll show up eventually. Anyway, so it was
and
really...
of course we opened our files after that.
Yes.
But we didn't make a big public deal. But it's everything is online, and you know, you search, and it's really fascinating. You know, I went back and looked at some of the reports from the Blue Book from the 1950s and since. And I hear some doorbells. I want to remind folks that you listen to the Candy Shop Show. A special guest speaker is Carla Bass, reporting on the UFO conference at Eureka Springs that took place last weekend. Okay, besides John Burroughs and Barbara Lamb.
Well, we have Sherry Wild. A World in Transition was her topic, and she is actually a contactee and has been contacted all her life. And she wrote a book, and I don't have the name of the book here, but I think she only wrote one. But it's Sherry Wild, that's Wilde, and very, very fascinating story, how she one day realized that she had been on ships. It wasn't in her memory until a point. And she was in her 30s. She was a real estate salesman, just living what we call normal life. But something was always in the back of her mind. Something wasn't right. And at one point, she started remembering. And it is very, very fascinating. So she shares, she comes to the conference almost every year. She's a regular because people want to know what she's experienced through the year. Well, we haven't seen her, so we usually request that she be there every year. Another one that has been, another person was Linda Moulton Howe, and hers was Symbols and Binary Code and High Strangeness Phenomena. And Linda has, I believe she's been to every conference that's been at Eureka Springs. And
now that's Linda Howe?
Yes, Linda Moulton Howe, Howe.
Yes.
And she
I remember her.
Yeah, she has, and her subjects have changed a lot through the years. And I think she's been at every conference. And she got started as a young gal. She had a horse, or a friend of hers had a horse. And somehow this horse had been cut, or she called it mutilated. And there was no blood. It just blew her mind. And she found out it was happening around New Mexico, mostly New Mexico and some parts of Arizona. So she began investigating because she realized the horse wasn't the only one. So that's what got her started, is just what is going on. Well, her subjects have changed. She's become a radio show host. Last year she did the research on Göbekli Tepe, which is, I guess, we're not even sure what it is, but it's underground, and they're digging it up. And it has the most incredible carvings of animals, and it's just blowing their minds because it's very old, but yet everything is so cut in such precision. And the animals that are on like posts aren't made and then put on it. They were carved on the post, and they're an animal that's, it's not just a carving into the post, it's outside, like climbing the post. And it's just absolutely amazing. So if you ever get a chance to look up Göbekli Tepe.
And then, so are these animals animals that we have living on the surface of the earth right now?
Some of them are recognizable, some of them are not. They have no idea what the animal is. But it is just, I guess it's a massive site. It's going to take many years to uncover the whole thing. They believe it was covered intentionally. So, and there's no tools left, no signs of people ever being there, and it's a huge area. So,
and what part of the world is that?
I think it's in the Middle East. I can't remember exactly where in the Middle East.
Okay.
But
now, you mentioned crop circles earlier, Carla. Now, as I understand it, the crop circles are made by ETs that are water beings, and that they can make the design on their computers and then basically press a button and it's formed instantly.
mm-hmm.
Did they talk about that process or say anything about that?
Yeah, not this year, but I have in other years. They went into more how they believe. There have even been human beings who, under some kind of, I don't know, something prompts them to do it, and most of the time they're not made by humans, and if they are, it's very clear that it has been done by a human. But there have been people who have created them off of a prompting, not even realizing why they were doing it. So there's a lot of stories, but most of them are totally unexplainable, and that is one of the ideas or beliefs that have come up. And a lot of spheres sometimes have been seen around the crop circles.
Now, they used to be mostly in Britain, but they're been everywhere, and in America and Wisconsin. Are they saying that they are? Are there as many in 2015 as there was in 2001?
And no one mentioned that, and I don't know the answer to that.
And so what are some?
I think they have increased
explanations as to what the crop circles are saying.
Well, there are several people now who are interpreting them, and this time the people who have been reporting on crop circles didn't do too much on that this year, even though that is part of their work. But I did want to mention that Linda Moulton Howe does have a radio show, and she has a lot of different guests on there. It's very, very, very interesting because you get some of the latest information. She really keeps on top of things. And
Carla,
in the early years, did someone else want to ask a question right now?
Oh, I was just going to comment that Sherry Wild was on a Diamond show with Ray and Tolick and Julian Wells, so people look for it. She really had some interesting stuff to say. Sherry Wild.
That would be great to hear.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube channel, so want to let you guys know that it's a good show so far.
And
I love the information you're bringing out. You're
Elizabeth.
They're encouraging us, right, for when we go out. I call it boots on the ground. All right. Love you guys.
Yes, and of course, Carla and I went to St. Louis last year and spoke with Sherry Wells at St. Louis conference. But years ago, Carla, the controversy was that there were so many speakers that were bringing a lot of fear-mongering and negativity and talking about abductions and mutilations. And my booth was one of the few booths that presented a positive viewpoint of the landings and our ET stars brothers and sisters. And, so the positive attitude was in the minority in the 1980s. How would you say about that? And
that has definitely changed.
Great.
Just about everyone's in agreement that whatever this phenomenon is, on a whole, is positive, and it's there. The bottom line is to assist us in our growth here on the planet. And there are, just like everything else, there's some negative, but they've already had their turn, and they're finished, and we're going the right direction. Everything's great. Everybody's in agreement.
And that's great. And was Linda Howe in agreement that this is positive?
Yes, and normally the last few years that I've seen her, she spoke about Go Back, Leap Happy, usually positive. Now this year again, she brought out some information that we felt was important, but it was a little bit negative. So, everything else was so positive, it really didn't matter. And the truth is, I don't even remember what it was because I dropped it right away.
Right.
And just went on from there.
On the network, Christopher Jacobs and others have revealed about, the problems from the Archons and the Dracos and the reptilians, but those problems are in the past, and we have forgiven them, and they are, joining in to help us now. And it's and we've converted any of the negative our Gothians who were upset with us for sinking Atlantis, and so it's just really positive, and so that is great. Well, what else was going on in Eureka Springs?
Well, I don't know about all of you because we were busy in classes, but now a lot of you will know Whitley Strieber. He's the one that wrote the book Communion and many other books. And the movie came out. It was about his own personal life. Of course, he says the movie wasn't quite the way it happened. They had to put a lot of scary stuff in there and stuff, I guess. How the movie world is, how Hollywood is, but he said it wasn't quite that way, and
it wasn't as scary an experience for him.
No, it wasn't. He's had contact, most of his life. He also wrote The Wolfen and The Hunger to the Grays, Alien Hunter, and most of those had movies made out of them. Superstorm was one that was made, and another movie made. It was called The Day After Tomorrow, but his book was called Superstorm, and he's always lovely to have. And has anyone heard of Jim Mars in remote viewing? Jim Mars goes way back. He wrote a book it's called The Crossfire, The Plot That Killed Kennedy, which later Oliver Stone made the film JFK. And he wrote also Alien Agenda. He's from Texas, and just a fascinating guy. His whole life he's been a reporter and pretty much reporting on unusual things. I think he was born near Aurora, which there was, I believe, an incident or a crash there even before, I believe it was before Roswell. And the people there just buried these little beings in the ground. And now, starting this year, I think it's going to be this month or next year, they're going to start a tour of that and show the town, and that'll be starting, I think it's this month or next month.
And what was his name in the town?
His name is Jim Mars, Jim, and then Marrs. And what got him started was the Aurora incident in Aurora, Texas. There was a crash there a long time ago.
Okay, very good.
And
of course, the UFO term came about in 1947 with the sighting in the northwest.
Yeah.
It was called a flying saucer. That term came about long before Roswell.
Anyway, they kept us just captivated. We had several speakers a day. We only had 30 minutes break in between each speaker. And we just were really busy. They keep you really going. Many of you may have heard of Richard Dolan. Yes. He's done a lot of things. And he has a Coast to Coast AM. He's on there a lot, and then he's on the Richard Dolan Show on KGRA. And he's done investigating for many, many years. And one of my favorites, and why I just couldn't miss this year, because I thought, I go every year. Why do I go? Because, I'll get the updates, but I can see it on video. But Eric Von Daniken was there. And that's kind of where I start out with Chariots of the Gods. And, of course, he's done many books since then. And the research that he's done in these years. He's 81 this year. And for those who don't know, he wrote a book. He speaks broken English, and he has a secretary. He's from Switzerland. And his secretary speaks a little bit better. So if he gets stuck, he turns to his secretary and speaks in German and asks him how to say it. And he tells him, and then he goes on with his speech.
Right.
So,
well, I have a first edition of Chariots of the Gods that I bought.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I wrote Eric in 1972, and then
Did
he
you?
replied. Yeah, he replied in German and French, and I was running around looking for a translator.
Yeah, he very broken, but you can still understand him. But he makes it fun because he'll say a word, a translated word that we wouldn't use, and it makes it really cute. When he's speaking. Anyway, I just and I got my picture taken with him and got his autograph, and he had a new book came out this year. But
got to put that on Facebook.
Yeah, I think I will. But it was just I think his latest book is called Twilight of the Gods, the Mayan Calendar and the Return of the Extraterrestrials. And his talk was on ancient aliens. Of course, he's on the show Ancient Aliens, which I believe Linda Moulton Howe is also on Ancient Aliens, that show, if any of you watched that. But his was a lot on the Nazca lines, and the Book of Enoch was the biggest part of his, and how he grew up in the Catholic Church, and when he was in high school, it was their job to translate from Latin or whatever into their language what the books were saying. So he learned a lot. And so when he grew up and started reading different Bibles, he was confused because he said, but I translated this, and that's not what it said. So he started getting into that and realizing that, there's some errors, and I think we all know that. But the errors were pretty, for him, were pretty significant because the book he was studying a lot when he was a young man was the Book of Enoch. And it just blew him away because in the earlier writings, he said in his mind he kept seeing a machine, not just a wheel. And so in later times, I'm not sure, not way back, but in our later, say, 5 to 10 years, he worked with some people and they built a machine that Enoch tells about. And then he worked with NASA NASA built the machine, and another group built the building that Abraham measured. So he got Abraham and Enoch together there, and this machine lands and can float right into the measurements of the building that Abraham had in the book of Abraham. So it was just fascinating. He had us just spellbound, at least his interpretation of how it could have been, believing that we had high technology in our way back time. And
so
in other times,
translating, Carla, this book from what language into what language?
Oh, it was the Bible. He was a Catholic in Switzerland as a boy. He went to Catholic schools.
So
and
translating from Latin to German,
yes,
or
well, to his language there, yes, he would have been translated at that time into German. And as he was doing it, all kinds of questions came up. He said he was just one of those people that curiosity was in his blood. He said he just could not stop searching, and that triggered something, and he's been researching ever since.
Right. Well,
and
are you ready for the big question?
What is that?
We all want to know how many extraterrestrials you met.
Oh, I don't know, because after Barbara Lamb brought things up and showed us pictures, you wouldn't even know you were next to a hybrid or some extraterrestrial. You could be right there. They could be sitting right next to you. So,
yes,
I haven't had any reports. Now, last year they have a happy hour at night. I usually don't go. But last year it was reported that during happy hour they were sitting out on a balcony and they saw a UFO over our conference. And now I haven't got any reports yet this year. But I don't go to happy hour. I go to my room and sit in, rest. Pardon me?
Yeah. Oh, and they flew over the conference. Yeah.
What was that?
I was there.
Oh, did they? Yeah. And they also reminded us we're all extraterrestrials or hybrids of some sort, if we can go back far enough. So, depends, where we're looking from. We're all from the stars.
Right. Well, we want to talk about Cobra a little bit. Is there anything else, though, that you wanted to share about that experience and what some of the speakers might have said? That did they talk about the fact that we're looking for full disclosure in the next year or two?
Yes, they believe we're coming closer, but they're not concerned about that because we're already disclosing. And we understand the real reason, why disclosures being. It's not even because of the star beings, but it's because of some of the decisions made by our government regarding them that will get them into trouble. So, but disclosures already happening.
Absolutely. Were the government agents spying on people? Were they obviously present?
Yeah, there were none obvious. I had gotten reports from some people in the past who had been there going much longer than I have, that at one time they could see that there were agents from time to time, but in the years I've gone, I guess the last 5 years, there hasn't been anyone. And the reason I'm saying it's one of the biggest in the U.S. is because when they have them in Europe, they may have 3,000 people there. But we have it in different places going on during the year. California has some, Arizona, New Mexico, a lot of different places have UFO conferences. So But when you go to Europe, they may have one for all of Europe. So when they have one, it's huge.
Right. Well, can you tell our audience when or where the next UFO conference will be?
If you want it, we are going to have more. They have New Mexico has, Arizona has, California in the desert is going to have theirs, and I'm not sure the time. You'll have to go online and punch that in. But every April we have one in Eureka Springs, and it's usually the first part of April. I think it's even been in the last part of March before, but if you're interested, you'll want to get on there no later than January to save a seat. Many of us did it. We saved our hotel room. I save it every year. They asked me, do you want this next year? I want it next year. I figure I can cancel it later if I don't make it. And then if you, because it is limited seating, even January may be cutting it really close.
Right.
So,
well, that's something for folks to consider. And, we might have a little mini conference here at Ozark Dawn just before it next April. And some might not remember that our guest speaker Carla is the wonderful lady that introduced me to Anastasia and to the Diamond Network and to Cobra, and so I'm just really glad that she was able to share more with us. And without Carla, the Candy Shop Show would have never happened. So this is wonderful, and I'd like to have a little panel discussion about what Cobra has been saying since March 1st. Is there anyone besides Carla and I that have been studying what he's been saying recently that would like to do a Star 6 and join us on the Cobra topic specifically? Okay. Well,
Candy?
on March, yes. Hello?
It takes a while to get.
Yes, I do. Go ahead. I just want to let you know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it takes a while to do Star 6. We need to give people time.
Yeah, there you go. I want to let you know that I sent the Cobra March, or the 7th one to Chris, and I sent that other one where something was supposed to happen April 9th, and they listed a whole bunch of stuff. It was on Project Camelot. I sent both of those to Chris, and I asked him to intuition what he thinks. So hopefully we'll be able to read his reply on Monday's show for both of those subjects. So that's a good thing. Okay.
Oh, great. Thanks, Elizabeth. All right. Well, as folks know, for the last 35 years, Cobra has been asked by the Galactics and Agarthians to be a communicator between them and the surface humans, and to work with the resistance to defeat the Archons and the Cabal. And so he has talked about this window of opportunity for the disclosure and the Ascension Plan from 1975 to 2025. And if you want to go into YouTube, you would type Cobra Update March 7th, 2016 to get this 9-minute video. But I want to play a little bit of it, and then Carla and I'll just lead the discussion on it. So let's see.
Released a great portion of the Ascension Plan for this planet. The Ascension window has opened on this planet on May 25th, 1975. at its turning point on August 11, 1999 and will close on July 7, 2025. It was always the plan of the light forces to clear the primary anomaly of darkness and to trigger the event within this time window, and that plan did not change. This time window has its basis in the scientific fact that solstice sun is completely aligned with the galactic equator within the 1975 to 2021 time frame, and this alignment is perfect within the 1980 to 2016 time frame. Solstice sun/galactic equator alignment occurs twice in the precessional cycle of 26,000 years. Actually, the precessional cycle is perfectly entrained with the pulse of the galactic heart, which sends a galactic superwave into the spiral arms of the galaxy every 26,000 years. So each solstice sun/galactic equator alignment occurs right at the time of the galactic superwave, either a large one which occurs every 26,000 years, or a mid-cycle one, which occurs 13,000 years after each large one. Luckily for us, the galactic superwave we are awaiting is the mid-cycle one, and will be significantly milder than the previous one that has caused the Gothenburg geomagnetic reversal, the terminal Pleistocene mass species extinction 13,000 years ago, and consequently the deluge of Atlantis. Yet it will be strong enough to dust off all darkness from our solar system, peel it off from the surface of the planet, and trigger the event. The central point of this cosmic transformation was already determined 26,000 years ago and was set around the date of the fixed cross total solar eclipse on August 11, 1999. That central point is remarkably close to the exact date of the solstice sun/galactic equator alignment. Astronomer Jean Moose has calculated that this alignment occurred in May 1998. Smolyakov has refined that date to May 7, 1998.
Okay. I thought I'd pause this for a second. Carla, would you like to comment on these cycles and dates?
Well, I don't know too much about them. I don't pay a whole lot of attention, but I do know, and I think everybody's thinking about now, something's happening, and it has been for a while, and a lot of people have their viewpoints on, but I'm comfortable with Cobra's viewpoints on pretty much all that's happening. I'm very attracted to him and his down-to-earthness and you know, what he has to report.
Right.
And,
well, Cynthia, you know, has talked about the 1975, 72, 75 opening, and you know, it's interesting for us to think about. You know, a lot of us on the call, not Chris, you know, can remember what we were doing on May 25th, 1975. I certainly remember that's the first spring that I moved to Missouri with my husband, and it's interesting, I think, that he gives specific dates. You know, he doesn't say just May 1975. He says May 25th, that the window opens. And I wonder, is Cynthia online here? Can she talk about any of this astrology? I think that this is really fascinating, and I will probably be talking about it more on the Candy Shop Show, and perhaps again in the next two weeks before Christopher Jacobs will be our guest speaker the first Wednesday in May. But then again, they said the turning point was August 11th, 1999. And a lot of people have said that the event will happen before August 30th of this year. So I'm wondering if this is a clue, if it might happen actually on August 11th, 2016. But I think that they are that Cobra is saying that the event could happen any day. Between now and August 30th. I mean maybe even April 19th. I mean, was there any talk about at the UFO conference about when the event Horizon will happen?
No, there was no one brought that up at all. It wasn't in any of the talks. But I do know I wanted to mention that every Sunday, Missouri time, at 2:00, Cobra is asking us to try to get up to 144,000 meditating at the same time all over the planet, because he feels confident that that can influence the coming of the event. And also, he has a meditation that he recommends, and it's on YouTube. And also to set our intentions to neutralize the negative beings that are creating a lot of havoc on our planet. And he said it can happen anyway, but the event can happen anyway. It's not dependent on that. But he said we can sure help it along if we're all taking about 10 to 15 minutes at one time all over the planet. And he's goaling that we get 144,000 plus, of course, if there's more.
Well, I often meditate on Sundays at between 1 and 2 o'clock, and along with Cobra's other fans, and this is important. And he said to hold the intentions that the event can happen peacefully.
Yes.
And so we can use the suggested meditation or our own meditation as long as we are focusing on the word event and peacefulness.
Yes, and he does say use your own method, but I put his meditation right on the front of my phone. So about 5 minutes to 2, I sit down, start meditating, and push that button, and it's right on my phone no matter where I go.
Well, that is great, and I've got I'm on his meditation group on Facebook, so that then I can open up my Facebook and see the meditation there as well. And I encourage all my listeners to join with us on Sundays. And doesn't he give an update on some of the specific things that happen on right after the Sunday meditations? I think I've seen that some in the past, but that's kind of cool.
Oh,
well, isn't that something? I have, I've often read, like in Christopher Stephen Jacobs' book, From the Fall to the Lifting, about the sinking of Lemuria, the sinking of Atlantis, but I've never had anybody specifically say it happened 13,000 years ago until this March report from Cobra. So that, it said the mass species extinction. Now that would be the dinosaurs and the reptilian types, and consequently the deluge of Atlanta. Consequently, so that does sound like it all happened in the same year. Wouldn't you say? 13,000 years ago, the species became extinct and Atlanta sank.
Yes, possibly. A lot of things point to that anyway. I wanted to share one other thing that Cobra just put on his website. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Sintamani stone. I think you are, Canyon, probably Elizabeth, and a few people. But anyway, they've been really wanting someone to take a Sintamani stone and place it in Antarctica. And he says, congratulations. Our U.S./Japanese team has successfully planted a Sintamani stone in Antarctica. And so I think that makes just about everywhere, all the main points of the planet has a Sintamani stone. So that's really exciting. He's just really been putting it out there. Can someone please go to Antarctica? Well, how many people are going to go to Antarctica?
Yeah.
So he's been asking this for about a year, Finally, he says, congratulations, we finally did it.
Well, of course, I was talking to some friends, and we were trying to get a group to go to Antarctica and explore the hollow Earth in the late 1970s. Oh
my goodness, yeah. I think there's openings all over our planet, so we don't really have to go to Antarctica, but we just don't know where they are. There could be one in Kentucky, very possibly, and there's other ones.
Right. Yes.
So openings.
Now, Cobra says that the Pleiadians said that on May 17th, that was the day in 1998 that the destiny of this planet was decided, and when the light forces knew for sure that the ascension plan will be successful. Because they scanned the planet and the intentions of humankind, and there was enough of us that were of the positive, leaning towards the light side, leaning towards service to others, that they knew that there would be enough light to make this ascension possible. So I thought I would play a little more of it. Was the sound okay, Carla?
Yeah, to me, I don't know if anybody else wants to. It could have been a little bit louder, but it might have just been my reception. So.
Okay. All right.
The Pleiadians have communicated to me that the exact date was May 17, 1998. This is the day when the destiny of this planet was decided and when the light forces knew for sure that the ascension plan will be successful. After the opening of the ascension window in 1975, a lot of light from higher dimensions began streaming in towards the surface population, and that triggered the mass awakening of the genuine New Age movement in 1980s. Alas, the ascended beings were not aware of the full extent of the power of primary anomaly and could not stop the dark forces operating in the shadows. The Dark Ones have infiltrated the New Age movement, infiltrated the Solar Warden space program, and finally took over the planet and the solar system in early 1996. Between 1996 and 1998, the light forces were overshot and had to regroup, and the ascension plan had to be upgraded. The Pleiadian fleet began to re-enter the solar system in 1998, and on May 17, 1998 received parts of the new ascension plan from higher sources. The Ashta Command began to re-enter the solar system in early 1999 and has evacuated the majority of Earth's humanity to Pleiades in August 1999. Before 1999, Earth's humanity consisted of about 70 billion souls on etheric and astral plane and about 6 billion incarnated humans. The majority of 70 billion non-incarnated human souls were mass evacuated on August 14, 1999 to the motherships of the Ashta Command and then transported to a certain planet on the outskirts of the Pleiades star cluster where they started receiving much-needed healing. The only souls remaining on etheric and astral plane were those who were direct hostages of the non-physical archons, those with strong attachment to the physical plane, and those who decided to stay to help the physical humans as spiritual guides. Between 1998 and 2016, the light forces have kept the ascension plan strictly confidential to prevent the Dark Ones from interfering with it. Many channels and intuitives tried to access the ascension plan but did not receive any signal. I have now received the green light to reveal one part of the ascension plan to the surface population. The real ascension process will begin at the moment of the event. The incoming energies from the galactic pulse will start to flow through the energy field of all human beings on the planet. They will be loving energies straight from the galactic heart and will start bringing much-needed healing to humanity. Ascension is both an individual and a group process. Each individual will go through his own inner experience, going through healing, release of the past, and inner transformation. With many people going through the same process at the same time, this will reinforce the light field around the planet and open the door for many that otherwise could not make it. The length of the complete ascension process is expected to be a few years for the most advanced individuals, and more for others. The actual ascension happens when we release all blockages to the energy flow and reach superconductivity of our mental, emotional, etheric, plasma, and physical bodies. There is much more to this, and I will release more when I receive the clearance to do so. At the moment of the event, the light forces will contact humanity only indirectly with intel releases through the mass media. After the completion of the Cabal arrest process and after the majority of humanity overcomes the initial shock, the light forces will begin to contact certain individuals directly. This will most likely start a few weeks to a few months after the event. At that time, contact zones will be created. Contact zones are areas on private property where the owners will dedicate part of their land for the contact experience. These owners will then experience a physical contact with the Pleiadians that will land on their land in a small beam ship. Those individuals will go to the mass media and report their experience, therefore preparing humanity for the reality of the contact. These contact zones will become more and more numerous until a certain critical mass will be reached for the first contact. First contact is the beginning of official diplomatic relations between Earth, humanity, and positive ET races. This is planned to occur roughly a year after the event at the United Nations and will be broadcast through the mass media worldwide. After the first contact, the positive ET races will begin to distribute their advanced technologies that will quickly bring the Earth humanity into the fifth-dimensional golden age. At the same time, many awakened individuals will start to relocate to create intentional communities, so-called areas of light. With non-physical archon influence removed, they will learn in those communities to finally live together in harmony, with each individual following his higher purpose and together creating a beautiful mandala of light. Areas of light will grow and evolve. Their vibrational frequency will lift, and in a few years they will connect with the motherships of the Ashta command with columns of light. These columns will accelerate the group ascension process. Ascension chambers are a very advanced positive organic technology that lifts our vibrational frequency and is a great tool to help in our ascension process. They will be used after the first contact to speed up the ascension process for those that are ready. After the first contact, the ships, Ashta Command, and the Galactic Confederation will be more and more visible as they will decloak at their positions throughout the solar system. Victoria de la Luz. Thanks for listening and watching. Subscribe and share.
Wow. That seems quite exciting to me. Oh. Well,
I'm ready. Are you? I'm ready. And I was just thinking of your land, Candy. That would be a big, good place, huh?
Yes, I've already dedicated it. And so they're saying a few months after the event happened that the Pleiadians will start to land in their little small beam ships. And then they want us to not be quiet about it, but go and tell the local media. And so if we have, hundreds of small newspapers reporting and television stations, then it better helps mankind when it becomes a national announcement. And where they decloak, all over the solar system. Well, Boris Gonzalez is a Pleiadian starship seed, and he said his job is to take pictures of the sky and the spaceships, and he puts those up on his Facebook page and does many other things out of his base in New York City. And I talked to him on the phone yesterday, and he said there will be lots more sightings in the next 2 weeks of April.
Mm-hmm.
So, we know we've had sightings reported like the lights of Phoenix, and I think that this is exciting, and that people should go to YouTube, and because a lot of times these sightings are not published globally, and so we need to look at the YouTube reports, and that there'll be a big uptick, is what the Pleiadians have told Boris. So, wow, these Ashtar, and isn't that something that there were 70 billion people who had lived and died off of our planet, and were in the atmospherian heavens around the planet, and they got to be removed and taken to the hospitals on Pleiades by the Ashtar Command in 1999. Wow. I mean, everybody's, there was that song, Party Like 1999. I don't know that I particularly felt a lifting. I curious. I might ask. We need to ask Christopher and May about some of this. But that's a whole lot of 70 billion souls to move on, and then there were 6 billion. I think we're over 7 billion now that are incarnated on the surface. So, would any of my guests on the show tonight, anybody else would like to comment on what they've just heard, or ask a question, or want me to research something for the next show? It was interesting tonight on the national news. 2 big stories. Number one, a big story about a movie that has come out that exposes, this documentary type movie about the vaccines causing autism. And the other one was about the co-founder of Facebook donating $250 million to cure cancer. I mean, we have long heard that the extraterrestrials are going to help facilitate healings and the cure for cancer and these things. And so it's interesting that these kinds of things were announced today, August 13th, on national media. So, the Diamond Network is all about the solutions, and I love to notice these things, and would love to have people share them on my shows. And if they don't want to share them directly, send me a note about these things via email. And you might want to take a note, folks, of my email. It's key2truth@yahoo.com. Well, there's a transcript of the Ascension Plan that was that we just listened to from Cobra, and it's great to see this because my calls were, originally the Owaspy calls, and the Owaspy is talks about these 13,000-year cycles and these 26,000-year cycles, and so it all blends in, and the Owaspy published and channeled in 1881 shared that we were going to go into this cosmic age where our planet was no longer a prison planet and we could reunite with our star brothers and sisters. And so it's exciting. It looks like it's happening. Carla, do you have anything to say as we close up?
Oh, I don't think so. Just thank you for letting me share, because I know a lot of times people aren't aware of all the different things that are happening. And when we all share, we can find out about it. I know I've learned so much when I've tuned into the Diamond Show and Candy Shop Show. I think, I'm not sure, did I find out about the Law of One through Cynthia, that when she did the Law of One prayer? Or did I already
you had the Law of One books, quite a while.
I think I had it, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. I knew it was important, but I got it because it was important. When I have time, I'll read it. But when Cynthia started doing the prayer of one, the Law of One prayer, it made me understand how important those books were. So I don't know if I had them all yet, but I did get them, around that time, I think, all the rest of them.
Right. I think Cynthia has awakened a lot of us to, why David Wilcox has focused on the importance of the Law of One.
And then Elizabeth
in his career. So
and Elizabeth introduced us to Chris too, and I'd never had a reading before until Chris. I just loved him so much. I thought, oh, he's so sweet.
Yes, he's given you and me and so many of us great readings, but I don't think he wants us to say that anymore because he's also booked up.
I bet he is. We better get on the list for next year, maybe. We may not need it next year. We'll read our own by then.
Right. So the window was going to close on July 7th, 2025, but it is actually going to be completed. They're not going to run up to the very end of the window. The ascension should be completed by 2021 was the report that Cobra just gave us. And so let's set our attention. I know the Diamond Network fans are all about the more spiritual advanced, and so it'll just take us a few years and we'll get this completed, getting in complete alignment with 5D. Thank you all for joining us. It's a wrap.
Thank you.
Are you looking for healing or a change in your life to help you enjoy it more fully? You might benefit from a galactic energy reading and clearing from Chris Jacobs. Chris will work with you on a soul level to clear unseen negative influences, implants, programs, contracts, and energetic blocks. Chris Jacobs is a gifted energy healer. Contact him today at ChristopherStephenJacobs@gmail.com.